in my story, if I could share before we get into why and what allowed me to lean into this new world. For me, this all began about 5 years ago in 2017. I had hit rock bottom. I also was not, I wasn't raised in religion, but I was also raised to believe that the hippie woo woo stuff was just, exactly just that, the hippie woo woo. And I'll get into that in just a moment. But I was rock bottom, broken. I was on my way to divorce. I had two young children that I knew I needed to take care of. And my mindset was of, I had very, very, very low limiting beliefs about who I was. I was 36 at the time. And I didn't have a great relationship with God at all, actually. I felt as if He had blessed everyone else and just kind of pooped on me. I had like no gifts. Um, I felt like everything I started, I always quit. And all the jobs that I ever had were entry level positions. I actually haven't told this story this way in a while. um, so I might get a little emotional. Um, feel safe. And I had a lot of habits that I didn't think that I could also break. I felt that it was just part of who I was. And this was just the story I continued to say. And so when I hit that rock bottom, um, I remember where I was. And I was in the basement and of my home, and I felt like I'd given up, and I screamed to God and said, "I'm willing to do anything if you just show me some sort of path. If you just show me something, just help me. I promise I'll do it as long as, my God, I hope it's not evil." And I just, please help me, because I didn't know what to do. And this is kind of how my story begins, in how beautiful life can really be, and heaven and earth can really be here if you're willing to go through some hell. But with some guidance, you can absolutely get to what it is and where it is that you desire. It was like a gift from God when I received a suggested YouTube video. Again, I had not been into personal development. I was not spirituality, barely knew religion. And for me, the teacher that showed up was a man named Bob Proctor. I had never seen the movie The Secret. If I had, I would have been very turned off by this. I would have thought it was some sort of devil worshiping, or, again, it was the belief that I had at the time, having complete ignorance about what any of that was. But it was a video of him from back in the 80s. He had huge glasses on, and it looked it looked very generic. And somebody was interviewing him. And it was what he said that really reached me on a core level. And apparently later I discovered that it's helped a lot of people in hearing, not from their ears, but from their hearts, right? This truth that we feel that calls us intuitively to lean in. And he said, if I want to be free, I have to be me, not the me that my spouse thinks I should be, not the me that my kids think I should be, and not the me that you think I should be. If I want to be free, I have to be me. So I better know who me is. I'd never heard anyone talk like that before. And then he said, you don't die and become spirit. You are spirit, and you're having a human experience. And just the change of those few words, and the energy, the power that was flowing through him. I didn't have the language then that I have today. I didn't know what was happening. It was like something blew up inside of me, like an enlightenment, a revelation. And it was like, whoa. And I just, I could just feel the power, and I just leaned in. I studied everything about what he taught about the mindset, and I could feel the truth in it. You see, even though I was afraid, because it was information that I had never heard before. So I was learning, unlearning, and relearning, and breaking certain conditional thinkings, what we call a paradigm. And I didn't know quite yet what was happening for me. So within months of just listening to him every day, I became obsessed of listening to all of his teachings. Now I have many mentors now, but this is how it began for me. I started to shift, and things were changing within me that I didn't know. I was very coachable because I was in survival. And what I mean by this is doing simple things, reading, the constant repetition of the same information, writing notes vigorously, and really just and this desire that I had to know more of who I was. I didn't know that was what was happening at the time. Again, it was survival. This man kept saying, you can have and be and do whatever it is that you desire, right? Using God's laws. And you'll see in the title of this event that I'll be speaking about today with all of you, the LOA, the law of attraction, which is a law, just like the law of gravity, that isn't just working on Sundays, that's working all the time. And what Bob Proctor taught me was that in the movie The Secret, if you all have seen it, he says we never gave away the secret. We don't talk about it much. And really what he meant and what he says is that the primary law to attraction is the law of vibration. So what vibration are you in? Right? What are you thinking all the time? The core of who you not what are versus what you say you want and what you're willing to do to become into alignment, and the willingness of you to die for it. In other words, dying for leaving the old world behind to step into a complete unknown world with love and light. Again, I didn't have the language then, and I share this story with you very differently. It's really kind of fun. So again, thank you for being here. I look at all your faces. Jennifer, you're just such a ray of sunshine. If I could just say, for some reason, my focus goes a lot to you. Thank you for your love. With what I was doing and not understanding what was happening for me, I could feel it. I could feel this change within me. Within a month, I had shifted habits that I had never thought that I could. I had been smoking cigarettes since I was 13. My mom had died from it when I was in my early 20s. I was also drinking heavily. My mother also got sick from drinking. I was very depressed, so I was on antidepressants, but not taking them regularly, and having entry-level position jobs. So it was earning anywhere between $14 to $15 an hour, and having two young children, I couldn't afford the babysitting. So it was a struggle. It was a paycheck to paycheck kind of a thing. But something was happening inside of me. And I didn't know quite yet how to explain that to others, but they could feel it and see it too, because those habits that I mentioned to you, I had shifted and I no longer had. But it wasn't one of those things like in the olden days where I would say, oh, I'll slow down on the drinking. Never ever said I'd quit smoking unless I was pregnant. So I had the willpower to do that. But I never ever said that I would quit smoking beyond that. I just kind of wrote my name. That was just again who I thought I was. But within a month of studying this material, there were huge changes within me. And I made this committed decision. So all the habits were gone. I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but it's true. This is how I know that if I can do it, anyone can do it too. And it really doesn't have to be hard, which is where the second part of what I want to talk to you all about, which is the effortlessness of when we talk about the money paradigm, which a lot of light workers have because we operate from our hearts. We're philanthropists and we would give it all away. Of course we would. I made a decision that I wanted to meet Bob Proctor. This was crazy because you see, he was the world leader in human potential and success. He lived in Toronto, Canada. I live in Colorado. I had no money. But he said, if you do exactly what I tell you to do, I promise you, by using God's laws, which work precisely, which are not my laws, you really can have whatever you desire. But you have to be willing, right, to die for it. So to break through, to become the new version of you, right, and let the old version of you die. So I said, okay, as long as it's with love and light, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. He had a 6-day event in Toronto, Canada. The program was called The Matrix, which is a cute name. And this program began in August of 2017. So just to give you all a timeline, this is all I'm trusting that you all are meant to hear when we go into the teaching part of this. Because the quantum leap, right? The speed in which that you can go. The universe loves speed if you're willing to meet the universe halfway. So in March, I found Bob Proctor. In about April, I made the decision to meet him. In May, I had made the commitment. I had booked to go to the event in Toronto. And by August, I was there in Toronto in Bob Proctor's home, meeting him. And this is where my entire life even takes this whole shift and turn. And miracles that now I want to just share with the world. It almost feels as if, when the sharing of the good news, you just want everyone to know that if you can do it, that anyone can do it too. Listening to the core principles here of Circles of Miracles, it's exactly the core principles that we follow too. So it's like it's so perfect, it's synchronicity, it's parallel, it's magical, united, we can go so much further and also faster too. We really can, especially when we all believe that. And what is time, right? There is no such thing. It's nothing is neither created or destroyed. Everything is happening all at once. Meeting Bob Proctor, sure, that was great. It was a goal that I had set, but really what I was being taught too, which came through Earl Nightingale, and that was that success was the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. It wasn't about the getting, the goals that we set, about the monies that we might say that we want, or the, maybe not always materialistic things. Maybe our goal is to build schools and communities and to help families like you all do here, which is so magnificent and beautiful. But on this planet called Earth, it takes money. And but either way, what is success? It's who you become along the way. And this is what I didn't know before. I was in survival. So this man said, I could teach you how to make money. And I thought, well, if I could just have money, I could be happy. I could take care of my kids. So I was in this mindset of survival. And my mentor would say, you know, your level of awareness only comes from what you have experienced. So when you're listening to those that have the results in which you're seeking, and when you're using your heart and intuition, you can collapse time because you see, you'll trust. Now, of course, you trust with your heart. It does not mean that you might not look at certain things and say this, this doesn't look or feel right. So for example, I would say I would call myself the Alice in Wonderland. Really, I'm willing to jump down any black rabbit hole, if you want to call it that, the black being the unknown. I'm willing to do any of those things to discover more of this truth. Why? Because this human experience is actually so beautiful, but I've now come to recognize, realize, have become aware that with the right mindset, you can travel this earth, this planet, this life, this human experience, which is so beautiful, allowing the pure power of who you really are, who I really am, that connects to God, that makes us one spirit, spirit that seeks fuller expression and expansion. That's the part of us that's adventurous. And for me, I even went to Scientology. And I just wanted to know. I was like, what is this? It kind of sounds like what we teach. Went in and I thought, oh, okay, it's not for me. Thank you for the experience. What an incredible adventure that I get to come back and talk about. And again, it's no bad or good. It's all relative, right? And I'm just sharing this in storytelling to say, this journey is so amazing and beautiful. And you see, when we talk about effortlessness and about money paradigms and the laws of the universe, it kind of seems as if it's all over the place, right? There's so much. If you all are here, you've done a lot of work, in yourself, in the studying, and what you all know. The information is everywhere, right? What Bob Proctor taught me was that heaven's first law was order, right? Organizing all the information that you have in a space, almost like he would say, you're not a machine, but you have a machine. So that spirit that operates to and through this body has programming, and it has limiting beliefs that came from childhood and even before that, right? From our ancestors, where they did the best they could with where they were, with what they went through, but they had limiting beliefs that caused us to believe certain things about ourselves that weren't our beliefs. We believe in certain things and we don't even know why we believe that. And it's like wholeheartedly believe, and a cute story that he would talk about was, he said, my grandma would always take a meatloaf and she'd cut it in half and she'd put it in the oven. And, that's how my mom did it. And that's how my great grandmother did it. And when we asked, why do you guys cut the meat in half? And everybody had their story as to why the meat was cut in half. But when they went to the root of it, when finally someone just decided to discover, they said, oh, because back then the stove was very small. And they had thought that it was something very different. So it's kind of a cute story, but what it brought to my awareness and attention was, do we ever question where our beliefs come from about who we say we are at the core? For me, I had said, I'm a smoker. My mom smokes, my dad smokes. I've been smoking, in the car. Everyone my parents hang out with smoke, and I smoke. Why would I quit? No, I've told that story about who I was, but you see, that wasn't who I was at all. Spirit, of course, doesn't need cigarettes, it's the body. And so what I was being taught was, okay, so how, what is it in which that you can do to set these goals to become who you're meant to be, which is an everyday process. It never stops. It's like brushing your teeth because sometimes it can feel exhausting. And what I want to share with all of you are the things that my mentor taught me. I mentioned to you guys too that he wasn't my only mentor. He's not. I have so many. You might have heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza, maybe Greg Braden. That's the science part. I love that they can bring in. If you guys have not heard of them, I highly encourage you all to write their names down. It's mind blowing. Ignorance is a choice in today's world. It really is, because there's knowledge everywhere. Everything, right? You can trust and then verify, and also too in feeling, again, using your higher mental faculties, your intuition, which is God, your higher power speaking back to and through you, which gives you, right, that unwavering faith to step forward into the unknown spaces. So what do I mean by this? Well, setting goals. You guys have probably heard this. I don't know how often you all might talk about it here, but setting not goals that you know how to do, because that wouldn't be a goal, or goals that you think that you can do, but they're kind of big and it would kind of be scary. What I was taught was set goals that scare you, goals that you've never imagined that you could do. But also key in setting these goals would be to surrounding yourselves with those that think big like you, right? Because who we surround ourselves with is also who we become. So if I tell you I have this goal to build utopia, right? Like, oh my God, you're so crazy. You're in the woo woo again, right? And immediately I'm being sucked into that too. And I'm going, oh, well, maybe you're right. Maybe I am really crazy. Why? Right? What is utopia for me compared to what you think? The feeling. If you remember what I said about the law of attraction, the primary law to attraction is vibration, the vibration in which that your body is in. So let me give you an example. When you think a certain thought, right, which you have the free will to choose to think, you can either think positive or negative. It's up to you what you choose. That's the free will that you've been given, right? So you choose to think a negative thought, let's just say, about a certain situation. Oh, this girl is full of crap. I don't know. Okay, so now you get emotionally involved with this negative idea, right? Which is suppressed into, so first it starts in the conscious mind, and then you suppress it into the subconscious mind. And all the details of this yet doesn't matter. So just stay with me. You suppress it into the subconscious mind, which now you have emotionally involved with this idea of a negative thought, whatever the negative thought might be. So even though you think, right, well, consciously I'm saying this is great, but really inside you're feeling something different. The universe, right, it can feel you. Right? You can't lie. So this vibration in which that you put out is exactly what you get back. Now, religion would say, as you sow, so shall you reap. What goes around comes around. The law of cause and effect. What you put out comes back. It's a universal truth. So once I started to understand these laws this way, and where the science started to come in, where, the spirituality was there, and I was going, whoa, okay, this is really interesting. So if we're in alignment where our beliefs match our behavior, which changes then the vibration in which our body is in, when we step out, when we set these big goals, and we have unwavering faith that God will meet us halfway, because God is not separate of us, He flows through us. That's pretty powerful, right? When we become conscious of that, that's now us being in spirit. But we all understand that we don't get to pick the timing of it. This is where the trust comes in, and where we have to say, unforeseen forces are working for us always, because they are. Now, when it doesn't feel as if they are, what's happening? When they trigger certain vibrations within us, this is also a gift that we've been given, which is our emotional guidance system. What we feel inside when something doesn't feel good. Well, we have to know what we don't want in order to know what we do want. The law of polarity, which means everything has an opposite. Am I is everybody with me so far? I haven't lost you, have I? I'm just looking again at your face, Jennifer. Um, okay, beautiful. that's what the universe responds to, is that vibration. So when we talk about effortless abundance, many people think, well, yeah, that it's not an overnight thing where you think, I'm just going to sit here and think of money. I'm going to think of money and it's going to land on my lap. Now, does it happen? Sure. Absolutely. I'm telling you, it does. But really, also, it's you planting that seed and earning, like I said before, who you become, the people that you'll meet, right? The experiences that you'll have. You'll be at the right place at the right time with the right people as you follow your yellow brick road, right, to your emerald city, because the emerald city is this goal that you set that you didn't imagine, could never imagine that you could have. It could be your health, it could be your love life, your family, it could be any of those things. But there's always two questions that you have to ask, which would be, number one, am I able to do it? Like, am I able to do it? Right? Since we can't say, well, I want to be Superman and jump off the building and fly. Okay, well, really, can we actually, well, maybe in another dimension, right? If you really want it, are you really willing to die for it? Right? So, okay, fine, maybe you can. You can be like an Elon Musk, right? It's anything you want as long as you say yes to both those questions. Are you able to do it? And are you willing to do whatever it takes? Because if you can see it in your mind, you guys may have heard this from many mentors and teachers said many different ways, but if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hands. Why? Because it's already done. This is the crazy part, but I'm telling you it is, because you wouldn't have that desire within you if it wasn't meant for you to help co-create with God. You're the paintbrush, right? You're the one that's the physical vessel here to be able to create that utopia here. Whatever that again is, right? That might be a crazy idea, but I don't know about you, but I'd rather give my energy into someone that believes in that than versus the chaos of what's really going on. Not really going on, but in worlds that certain people perceive. I've often heard, especially my dad, he'll say, well, you got to get into the real world. You can't always be flying out there and, thinking everything is roses and peaches and unicorns. Yes, of course, I understand that I'm not avoiding what's happening matter to matter here in the physical realm of this planet. Of course, I know. I just choose on how I show up in seeing those situations. So seeing it from God's point of view. God gifted us with higher mental faculties. He gave us our will, which gives us, right, our free will to choose what we want to do and think. He gave us our intuition, which is, again, that's the channeling from him to us. When we just say, when we're in prayer, we can feel it. He gave us our imagination, which is so amazing. This is Christ consciousness and you being able to see a future that others cannot see just yet by setting goals. Now, you might think, well, that's selfish. I say you, but just generally speaking, these goals are all for me. No, you see, when you heal, those around you heal. You can't change people by instilling fear because people don't resist change. People resist being changed. So by inspiring them, by being the higher version of you, by showing them what's possible through you, people go, at first they'll, oh, this isn't gonna last. And there goes their limiting belief. Oh, and she's not, can't do that, blah, blah, blah. Who does she? That's how it starts. Now, have you surrounded yourself with those, right, that believe in what you do? Sacred space of love, unconditional love, where people say, you got this. I got your back. God is flowing to and through you. Hold, hold, hold. Stepping forth and doing things that you've never done before. Maybe it's, showing up to a certain event. And now you're talking about your goal because you've never talked about it before. There's all these families that really want to help. And you just happen to be right on the right frequency where what you're seeking is seeking you. And someone shows up and says, hey, I know someone that's looking to invest. And there it goes. And you'll go, oh my God, that was like coincidence. No one's going to believe that. And this is what we're seeking, remember? Why do we want things? Why do we want anything? Because we believe in having of it, we will what? Feel better. That's why we want things, right? And what is it that we're really seeking? Joy. It feels so good when we're serving others, when we're able to give others things and say, oh my gosh, like I got to be a part of something like this. But you see, you earned it. This is where the heaven on earth comes in, where you're not manipulating, you're not, instilling fear in people and doing things and trying to control, and which would take forever. Oh my gosh. And I've been not mindful of my time. I see you coming. So I, with closing, what I would like to say is to set big goals and show up places like this and share your goals with others. And you really can have and be and do whatever it is that you desire, because I am that proof. And I have witnesses, right, to testify to that truth. So thank you. I'm so sorry. I did not even, it just went on and on.
I think it was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.